All right, it's week 15 in the NFL. It's time for the Sunday night talk right here on the Running It Back YouTube channel. Because if you don't know already, please like and subscribe to the channel. Every viewer counts. We picked up a few this week because all my stuff is up there. My YouTube shorts, stand-up comedy, and the show you're about to see right now, the Sunday night talk. We have a lot to discuss. We just wrapped up the Sunday night game, which was a little bit interesting. I'm going to bring up some points. I don't know if Omar's going to agree with me or not. Not to mention, we're doing for the first time ever headlines on the Sunday night talk. So I don't know where you are with the holidays. I don't know where you are with football at this point because it's week 15. I don't know where you're with your own team, but this is what the Sunday night talk is for. So everybody sit back. We're going to have a little discussion about our day. So here we go. Okay, it is 10:34 Central Time. The Sunday night game is wrapped up. I don't know if it was a good game or a bad game. I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of did not enjoy it. Omar is here. Our teams both did not play this Sunday, which I think was a good thing. I
No,
don't know
yeah,
how you felt about it, but I'm looking.
I was able to get over my misery, by late Friday night.
Yeah, that's true. You took in your loss on Thursday to the feisty Rams, which I am now calling the hot nerdy chick who wears glasses who may be attractive girl team is now what I think the Rams are. I don't know what to think of them. And much like the nerdy girl in school, I just stare at them for the next semester. And I never really come to a conclusion. All right, Sunday night is over from Seattle. And taking in this week, Omar, here's what I want to ask you. Who had the better win today? Was it Philadelphia or was it Buffalo?
Oh, without a doubt, it's the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they took out the hottest team in football, and especially after last year's performance the Bills had against the Rams, where they just got embarrassed by a team that, on paper and what we've seen on film, a much better team than the Rams are. They got beat bad, right? And so then we were thinking, well, if they struggle with the Rams, well, what's going to happen with the Detroit Lions? And look what happens. Buffalo dominates Detroit.
Yeah, they really did. It was Josh Allen cements MVP of the league for
Absolutely.
me.
Right now, it's his to lose.
Yeah,
It's Josh Allen's trophy to lose right now.
yeah. I didn't think the Rams loss was that bad. Like by Wednesday, they flew across the country. The Rams get up for these games, and I think they need to be a good team needs to be knocked down to earth every now and again. So I'm going to say the Rams loss was actually a good thing. And like I said with the Rams, like I think the Rams are good. I just don't think they're good enough to really win playoff games. But I think the Rams are actually a really good team. What do you think? What do you agree or disagree with me that Rams and the Buccaneers are going to be a really really hard out for somebody in the playoffs?
They're going to be it's going to be a hard out. They're going to be able. I mean, look what the Buccaneers did today. I mean, any given Sunday, they go out and they embarrass the Chargers in
That was supposed to
SoFi.
be a better game than what it was. Don't you think?
Oh,
I thought that was going to be awesome.
that one and along with the Giants Ravens, that was just an embarrassing football game.
Would you be surprised if the Rams or the Buccaneers got to the NFC Conference Championship?
What? What was that?
Would you be surprised if the Rams or the Buccaneers got to the NFC Conference Championship?
Yeah, I would. I still would be surprised, because I do think that there are. I do think that even though with this loss, I still think Detroit and Philadelphia seem like they are on a collision course, to be in the championship game. Um, so I would be surprised it's not those two in the championship game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those teams ends up, knocking out one of the number one seeds. They just have that DNA. Those two teams.
Let's go. But let's also, to against my point, Tampa Bay already beat Detroit.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true. They can get up like just any sort of like weird. If it's the Saturday playoff game, I feel that's the best day for the underdog to win the playoff game. If it's that dumb Saturday wild card game, especially if it's early, the earlier the better. Ready for a upset.
Yes.
All right, Green Bay, Seattle. I thought this was going to be a good game. I really did. And then I wrote down in my notes, why did I ever trust Geno Smith? Has he ever done anything to prove that he is trustworthy? Because back when this game was competitive, he had that horrible pick in the end zone. And it just seems like he can never really get over the hump and play competitive games. And then he'll have a good pass, and then he goes out injured in this game, of course. This game was really boring for the middle of it. And then it got good at the end, but...
And over the last since the Seahawks, I'm going to go historical here, but since the Seahawks moved to the NFC, well over 20 years ago, but still when they moved over, it seems like I could think of some pretty memorable matchups between these two franchises, the Seahawks and the Packers.
They had that crazy playoff game 10 years ago.
Yeah, and then the game where Hasselbeck basically, calls the coin flip and says, we want the ball and we're going to score.
Yeah.
And then he obviously throws a pick six, the very next drive.
The Holmgren era Seahawks.
The Scrubs referees game where that Monday night where they threw that Hail Mary and they had one referee saying incomplete or turnover and the other one saying it's a touchdown. So I was expecting more from this game. And you're right. It disappointed. Geno Smith got hurt, but I think by then still it seemed like the Packers were, already gonna cruise on that game.
It's like they were on cruise control.
But look, the Seahawks definitely, they got to reset. They're still in the thick of things to win the division. Obviously, the Rams control their own destiny, I believe, at this point. So the Seahawks, need to do some work and probably get a little help. And I'm sorry, we'll get a little help. So but they are still very much in the thick of things.
Yeah, it was a good Sunday night game because I feel like you didn't really have to watch this game because probably we're at the point of the year where you're trying to put up a Christmas tree, maybe wrap presents. So you don't really need to watch this game. You can just leave it on in the background and you can peek at it. So you could do other stuff during this game. At some point, Chris Collinsworth is telling us about how the sun has a gravitational pull in the first quarter. I don't know if you heard that. That was pretty interesting. And then it's kind of boring for a while. And then Seattle causes a fumble. They go in for a touchdown. And then you were like, oh, maybe I should watch this game. Jordan Love decides to go 3 and out with some of the 3 ugliest pass plays I've ever seen. And maybe something's going to happen in this game.
Right.
But nope, that was it. In some weird way, too, I felt Seattle's defense actually played good because I felt like Green Bay could have hung 40 on this team if they really wanted to. I don't know why I felt like that because Jordan Love looked in control for almost every drive of this game.
Yes, for sure.
So I didn't quite understand it, although Green Bay was clearly the better team in this game. There's no doubt about that. They look good, and yet Green Bay's beatable, don't you think?
Very beatable. Very, very beatable. Although, how impressive is that division? Obviously, there's still another game tomorrow between the lesser team of that division and the Vikings. But Packers, Vikings, you wouldn't be surprised if either of those two teams are a one and done in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I was about to ask you the opposite question. How surprised would you
wouldn't
be?
be surprised, I think, if they clip somebody, you know. But again, I'm still going to go back to, I really do believe this is a Lions-Eagles NFC Championship game.
I agree. I just never think the favorites end up playing each other. It never works out on paper that way.
It doesn't work out, so...
That's why I'm like, who are the Rams going to beat? Which one of these teams can the Rams take down? And I don't know. I'm
Right,
thinking it's
and then let's
Philly.
also
Just
throw in there. Let's also throw in there the Commanders. That
yeah.
they could possibly take someone out. Obviously the Falcons they're dimming. They're dimming if they don't get a win
Oh,
tomorrow.
Falcons, they're gone. The Cousins. I was done with the Falcons when they when they had Cousins starting in November. Why don't you put Penix in already? What is the point of having Cousins in there? I don't know
Right.
what the hell's going on with them. Of course, I got to watch him play the Raiders tomorrow. I don't know what to expect. I'm not going to expect anything.
Good luck. Good luck
Yeah.
with that.
Seattle, great Sunday night location too. Shots of
I
the
was
fish
gonna say that, and
market.
that was gonna get mine. I love the aerial shots at night from that light coming out of Seattle. So that I'm not gonna give you I'm not gonna say what my innovation is, but we're
Mm.
around there.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later. And hit a good shot of like what they called like a Seattle dive bar, which looked like the nicest dive bar I've ever seen. I was
Right?
like, hey,
Yeah.
looking good. I'd get a drink there. Seattle, all right. Put that on my list, especially it being on the West Coast. So it's probably not that bad of a winter. All right, I'm going to introduce to you a new segment to the show, Omar. This is called Headlines. I jotted down some headlines during the week that we can sort of hit, just sort of see how our NFL week has gone. Headline number one: the Rams beat the 49ers Thursday night. I think the 49ers bottomed out finally. They finally did not look good. They've looked okay in a lot of losses to me. This one, they finally didn't look good. They looked tired. They looked beat up. Purdy actually looked a little shook. So, 49ers for you, you're okay with the rest of the season being a wash? Is there
Oh,
anything you
it's
want proven in the rest of this season?
obviously the big news out of that game was uh a backup linebacker who had started a few games this year, Devontre Campbell. Not happy that Dre Greenlaw comes back, takes his job back. But Dre Greenlaw, of course, the linebacker that tore up his
Yeah.
knee in the Super Bowl, right after the coin toss. Um, but so he quits on his team because he didn't want to come off he didn't want to come off the bench. I guess he thought he should be starting. So obviously there's just something not quite right with the culture right now in San Francisco. You can't say that they didn't spend the money this year. They spent a lot of money,
Yeah.
and it kind of started with this whole the holdout situation that brewed with Brandon Ayuk. Um, Debo Samuel, Trent
Yeah.
Williams. Everyone's got to
McCaffrey,
get fed. Everyone's got to get fed.
the guy
But
got
a
shot
lot
in
of
the
these
offseason.
these superstars, they don't realize that the reason they're so great is because they're a team. They're a team, and the reason Kittle's going to get looks is because Debo is so great and McCaffrey is so great coming out of the backfield. Um, so they have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the skill position players. They have, a great, they have, I mean, Trent Williams, their anchor in the line, but he obviously had some health issues this year. So it never clicked for the Niners. And then this was just the icing on the cake. Obviously, a playoff quitting. A teammate quitting on the team.
It's kind of weird because, every team goes through injuries, but it seems like the 49ers have gone through the most. And I don't just mean this year.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean the last like 4 years.
it's
And
true.
it
It's been
finally has like been not enough to overcome.
right, but also that there's that, but then also on the defensive side, this 49ers defense this year wasn't like other years, so they allowed some big plays, they allowed some big third downs, didn't really get to the quarterback. And let's and I think Brock Purdy has, took I don't want to say he took a step back, but he didn't take another leap
Yeah.
terribly forward.
Yeah. Well, he was like Brock Purdy MVP talk for like 2 weeks last year.
Right.
And this year it's not that at all. Not at all. Just a rough season for the 49ers because the expectations were so high.
It's not unreasonable at this point, Pat, to even start questioning how Shanahan's leadership is right now, his grip of leadership in the locker room.
Yeah, like these locker rooms, like because I was reading about this with like the Bears when they fired Eberflus. Just these locker rooms, once you lose them, there's no getting them back during the season.
Right.
It's so hard to control. You got 52 players, you got coaches, you've got assistants in there, you've got team trainers. Like it's so much of a production that the head coach is supposed to manage. And once you lose it, forget it. It's not coming back. All right, next headline. Bill Belichick to coach the University of North Carolina.
Crazy.
Who saw that one coming? I didn't hear anybody say that was in the mix.
Still so hard to believe that the greatest coach of all time, is now coaching the Tar Heels of North Carolina. It's just hard to swallow.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know why the association. I don't know why college, but the man wants to coach.
There's some truth. There's some people talking, insiders that are talking that, he's going to try something different, running a college program like a professional developmental, team and program. So I think that was very interesting, and we'll see what this concept's going to be. And he's very close friends. I want to remind you, he's very close friends with Nick Saban. Okay, and obviously Nick Saban in retirement, but we can't question Nick Saban's success. Obviously, Nick Saban has spoken very openly about maybe his outlook of what goes on in college football. And I think it sounded to me kind of negative, just given the NIL and all that stuff. But I imagine that Belichick consulted with Saban, and eventually there was just something about it that he's going to go forward on it. I'm not going to question his intelligence, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, it's definitely piqued my interest in college football. This is the most college football I've watched in a long time this year. The college playoff interested me. There was a few storylines I wanted to keep tabs on. Now Belichick next year. Yeah, I'm very curious. Curious, number one, you go from an NFL coach where it is football all the time, scheming for next week, scheming for next year. Who do you have? Who can you pick up? You go to college where you coach, but you've got now recruiting is a huge aspect of college coaching. Like, how's he going to be with recruiting? How's he going to be in these off seasons? How's he going to be with boosters?
Yep.
Where he's gotta do the shaking hands, he's got to do the glad handing, he's got to go to the dinners. And lastly, are 18-year-old kids going to listen to 72-year-old Bill Belichick like a pro would? I can see them giving him more reverence, and I can also see them not giving him the reverence.
Absolutely. These are things that it's very fair to question what's going to happen there.
Yeah, like where is this all when the rubber meets the road? How is this going to work out? But my hope is like, what if this guy just has fun with this college team? Like, what if they have a great season and we get to see him smiling on the sideline? Like what a great thing for college football that would be. So along the lines of Bill Belichick, my third headline, we had Travis Hunter won the Heisman for Colorado this weekend, and we got the college playoff bracket unveiled last Monday. I have to admit, I don't know who Travis Hunter was. I was like, Colorado. I was like, one of the Sanders won? And I was like, oh no, it's this guy. I was like, wow, I didn't even know that.
Really? You're not getting into the college sports.
I followed it. I just don't know all the names. I watched the Ohio State Michigan game. I watched the conference championship games last week. And then I was eager to see what the playoff bracket looked like and where the games are going to be, what days, things like that. So that I'm into, but yeah, I did not know who this guy was. What's his draft status? He's got to be coming out, right?
Yes, yeah.
He's a receiver.
But now the question is, what is he going to be playing? Where are the scouts going to think he fits the most? Just the NFL.
He's a wide receiver, though, right?
He's a wide receiver, but he's also an All-American defensive back. And so what's he going to do? The body can only take so much, especially in the NFL.
Yeah. Who's going to pick up this guy? That's going to be an interesting addition to someone's roster. How about college football playoff? Because it starts on the 20th. Is that next Saturday? Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Friday. I think that's next Friday, actually.
Yeah, so the games are starting, so it's going to be very interesting to see NCAA getting an NFL playoffs kind of feel.
Yeah, I want to watch these games because one of those
And I think like
matchups is like,
the first four games, in the first round, I believe those are going to be playing there are going to be teams with home field advantage.
yeah, you're right. I looked that up. I was like, where are these games? Because I was selfishly hoping like they'd use some bowl games as playoff games. But the first round is home of the higher seed of college. So Notre Dame has a playoff game. Like that's going to be fun. I can't wait.
I think that's really interesting because we're gonna find games that you typically wouldn't find in the because of conference schedulings and but
Yeah.
we're gonna have some games where we're gonna talk about, oh, this is the first time Georgia ever went to Oregon, or I'm just picking two
Yeah.
random schools, but I kind of like a meet on the battlefield type thing, and I think
I
that's
like
what
it.
makes the NFL playoffs so great, because
Mhm.
it's that the battlefield, your home, you're protecting, your logo. That's cool.
Yeah, I never went to a college that had like football or anything. So I was always jealous of like the students that couldn't wait to find out what bowl game, say their college got into. And as soon as they found out, they packed up the car and drove to there. I was like, number one, I don't think I have any close enough friends that would want to pack up into a car and drive anywhere. Number
Right.
two, can you just get tickets to these games if you're a student and then you just go? And then you have these awesome weekends. It just seemed like a life I would never lead. So that's my secret jealousy of these bowl games. So Friday, I think is the 20th. I'm all in. I can't wait to watch that game. I'm going to be a college football Pat for at least one evening. All right, talking week 15, like we're already in it. Like the finish line is near for this NFL regular season. And it kicks off today. Of course, no Raiders game. Week 15. I've got everything locked in. But this week, I'm on child watching duty again for some of the Sunday. So
Okay.
now I have to watch these two kids. And I've realized this when it comes to parenting, especially kids about 10 years old and younger. At some point, children learn that it's okay to punch adults, i.e., me. Because it's like a game to them. They punch you, but as an adult, it doesn't hurt. So you kind of shrug it off and you almost kind of laugh at their punches. So then it becomes a nonstop afternoon of me getting punched in the head, the stomach. At some point, I'm getting hit in the butt with books. When did this corporal punishment of adults from children through punching happen? Have you experienced this?
I think the kids caught on. I think the kids finally realized the laws are on our side.
Yeah, because I so badly wanted to punch my nephew just to like set him straight to be like, hey, don't forget, I'm going to punch back at some point. But I couldn't do it. So I just got punched in the neck
But so
and then
the
hit
answer
in
is
the
that
head.
you as an uncle, you had that restraint and you did not punch your annoying nephew. Okay.
Right.
Now I want you to go back to you being your nephew's age, and I want you to think about a certain uncle of yours, and would that same uncle have had the same restraint with you? I'm going to tell you, in my
Hmm.
case, absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I ever got punched as a kid, but I do remember trying to find the limit of the adult. Like, oh, all right, I can start with these soft punches. Now I'm going to give him a real jab. Oh, he's not looking. I'm going to hit him over the head with this bag of chips. I definitely remember like you had to find the limit as a kid. And I definitely remember getting yelled at by adults at some point. We're like, hey,
Oh,
that's enough.
right.
Like every adult had that go-to statement where they go, hey, hey. Sometimes it was a hey. Sometimes it was a guys, guys. Sometimes it was a guys. Sometimes it was a yeah, a loud enough.
Right.
So, and then when I got older, it turned into like us being called queers or something.
Right, right,
Like
right.
that was more 13, 14-year-old. So I'm still working on my angry uncle statement when I've had enough of these guys.
Okay.
So I'm still working on that, but I got punched in the head a bunch. And then we're playing like Uno or something. Like these kids love to cheat. Like
They can't accept the loss.
they can't lose. Like we're playing a simple game of hide and seek. My little niece closes her eyes. We have to go hide. And my nephew makes so much noise to go hide in the closet. So, of course, when she looks for him, she goes straight to the closet. And what do you think the words are out of his mouth? You cheated. I'm like, no, we heard you get in the closet for 3 minutes. And then he's pissed that he got found. These kids have no sense of loss. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know what, Patrick, we should probably stick to the football because once you get Omar Carmona going about kids and parenting and what's wrong with kids these days from being a juvenile defense lawyer for many years now.
Yeah.
It's just there's a problem.
You've seen the kids that probably got hit back a lot of times.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, it's definitely a problem. But anyway.
Yeah, what's with these kids? Something as simple as like, because I'm at my brother's house and I'm watching them on my own, and the Sunday night game comes on, and I go, oh, okay, we got to put on Peacock. And my nephew goes, we don't have Peacock. And I go, yeah, you do. It's right here. See, Peacock. And he goes, it's not what I said. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You said we don't have Peacock. I'm telling you, Peacock is here. And he's like, I didn't say that. I'm like, dude, you're never going to admit you're wrong. It's about that time he punched me in the eye. All right, time to talk some games. Early games. Kansas City, Cleveland. I want to say this is the perfect Kansas City game because I was neither impressed with Kansas City and at the same time I thought Cleveland looked horrible.
Well,
Mahomes got turned into a pretzel again.
I think I texted you. It's that. Wow, I heard the best line. It's saying the pregame show. How with Jameis, it's feast or famine. 350 yards.
He had his famine day today,
and 3 touchdowns. But there's also 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. You know what I mean? So it's such a roller coaster. But this was also, this was a game that you could see, finally the letdown. The weather, the elements were bad.
Yeah.
Kansas City's just been living so dangerously. This just seemed like the perfect trap game for Kansas City to give one back to Buffalo, and so, but an ugly game.
But it didn't happen. They pulled it off again, 21-7.
But now, we got to be paying attention to what's going on with Patrick Mahomes' ankle. So let's see how that goes.
Right, and then on the first play of the game, Travis Kelce limps off the field and goes and stretches out on the sideline for 2 plays, and comes away. I didn't feel either of these teams look good. I was totally ready for Kansas City to lose this game and for all of us to say like, okay, good. They got their loss out of the way type of thing. How many conversations have you had in your circles, like defending the Chiefs or talking about how the Chiefs are playing this year? I feel like I've done a lot of Kansas City talk where I'm like, yeah, they don't look good, but I'm not betting against them until they lose. Have you had these conversations with your football circles?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just that you just keep saying like I like Terry Bradshaw's point the most, like that he's just sick and tired of the narrative that this was a bad win, and he's just saying no, it's not. To win in this league where any team can sneak up and beat you on one weekend, I don't care how you get the W. So don't question how, why. Just you get the W and you go to the next opponent, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, And
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're saying that in the divisional round of playoffs. We're like, yeah, the Chiefs won, but they didn't look good. Yeah, the Chiefs won the conference championship, but they didn't look good. I wouldn't be surprised if we keep saying that. Next game, Cincinnati at Tennessee. This is definitely a decorate the house game. There's no reason for this game, even though Cincinnati wins. The only thing I found interesting is that apparently Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor had a little sideline argument where at some point Joe Burrow says, I think he mouths, fuck that. He's getting this is a very saucy year for Joe Burrow.
This is going to be it's a tough year for him because he's playing so well. They arguably Joe Burrow would be number 1 in the MVP talk given those stats if they were a playoff team. Now, I think it is correct. If you are an MVP, you have to have at least gotten your team into the playoffs, right? I mean, that's you can't you can't not be in the,
yeah. It's one of those things a non-fan would agree with. They'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I agree with that."
Yeah, But in this case, if they were a playoff team, the Bengals, I mean, then Burrow would be in the MVP talk.
He's playing great. He's the only good thing on his team. He's getting a little saucy on the sideline with his own coach. He's got frosted tips. You know what? I have this sneaky suspicion that I hope is not right. I hope we don't find out in the offseason that he made friends with Aaron Rodgers over last year's offseason, and now he's adopted the attitude of Aaron Rodgers. Like, remember that one like sophomore in high school that would hang around with the seniors and all of a sudden started acting like a senior somewhere around Thanksgiving and Christmas? And you're like, dude, you're hanging around with the wrong crowd. This is why you're acting. Somehow I think Joe Burrow's hanging around with the wrong crowd somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from, but he seems like he's the best thing on that team, and he knows it.
I agree.
I wonder about that. Anyway, decorate the house to that game. Nobody cares.
Right.
Washington at New Orleans. Not quite a decorate the house game, but Washington was on cruise control for most of this game, and then I flipped to it. I was like, wait, New Orleans is going for 2 for the win?
Yeah,
crazy. With Spencer Rattler?
That was a crazy game because there was, they did make a quarterback switch. They ended up putting in Rattler. They went with the Hain. I think his name was Hain or something like that, and he just did not look good at all. They put Rattler in and gets him back in the game. And this is the game that Washington, hey, you guys are gonna go. You guys may be a playoff team. You can't let these guys, come back and if you're gonna play playoff football in January, you can't let these guys come back and sneak up on you. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the going for 2. You're playing, you're not going to be in the playoffs. I don't, try to get a win and they made an effort at it, but hey, watch again, but let's not knock them too much. It's still a win's a win. So
yeah.
good for them.
Yeah. Go for 2 every time. I hate overtime. You know how I feel about overtime. Let's figure this out right now. The only other observation I had is, no coach chews gum and shakes his head in disappointment like the New Orleans Saints coach. That guy just is chewing 3 pieces of gum and is just shaking his head. He doesn't say words. He just shakes his head and chews gum. He's got a very interesting coach look. Next game, Baltimore at the New York Giants. Was this the biggest blowout of the day?
I think the New York games we can just take care of back to back. A blowout game. Lamar, obviously it also in the conversation for MVP. I think 5 touchdowns today. But then again, it was a bad. It just not good for the Giants. Just a nightmare season continues for them. Maybe the worst team in football. So bad.
Yeah, would you give it to Giants? Worst team in football? It's Giants, it's Raiders. Who else are the candidates for worst team in football? Shoot, it might be between those 2. I'll give Jets slightly better because they won today. Jacksonville candidate for worst team in football. Yeah, Baltimore was in control of this game the whole time. The only thing good about this game is one of the announcers in the game finally addressed the fact that one of the Baltimore defensive backs wears 2 mouthpieces and never puts them in his mouth. I was like, finally, someone addresses this. I thought I was going crazy for 15 weeks that I was seeing. Baltimore goes into New York, takes care of business. Thank God. Thank God we didn't have to talk about this game. I mean, that's what I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's a game I don't want to talk about, but I know we're going to. Dallas at Carolina. Dallas, after Monday night's debacle of a block punt fail, goes into Carolina, wins 30-14, and I thought it actually looked good today. I don't know what
actually looked good today, and I think Carolina, bad start to the season, but they've been looking better, and I think they didn't look good. I think they played better, and I think they had a bad game.
Yeah, Dallas looked good. Carolina, they look like the Carolina we would have expected 5 weeks ago. Fun game. I give it to Greg Olsen and his announcing partner for doing their best to find things to talk about, find points to make about a game that is completely meaningless. I think that's a really tough game for an announcer. And somehow they made portions of this game watchable because I was checking in on it. It was on the early game slate on my TV. I was like, I'm going to keep checking on this game. Dallas, way to make an effort. That's all I can say. Next game, the New York Jets at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was a game I thought was going to be totally unwatchable. Ended up being really fun. And I got to give some credit to Chris Myers, who announced this game, who is a sneaky good broadcaster. He's talking about his midweek interview with Aaron Rodgers, which isn't on camera or anything. And he said, I asked him point blank about next year, are you coming back? And he looked at me and said, like, I don't think I am. And I'm like, whoa, here's some reporting here. And then he talked about all the moving pieces. And he said Aaron Rodgers teared up in the interview. And he said by the end of the interview, he's like, well, I do plan to come back. There's so many things. I'm like, okay, this is good reporting because I have heard the same Aaron Rodgers take all week long. It's almost like everybody has their Aaron Rodgers take and it's all the same. How about a new angle on the man already? Like, let's give us something to think about where it hasn't been ayahuasca. It hasn't been bad teammate. Let's get a new angle. I give it to you, Chris Myers. You caught my interest on that something is actually strange about Aaron Rodgers that is interesting for once. Yep. Okay, here's where the Jets almost blow the game, by the way, because Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams had the flash of the awesome pair for the whole fourth quarter. Okay, the game is tied. Did you watch it? By the way, did you watch this game?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you know this. The game is tied. Aaron Rodgers gets it to Davante. He runs down to about the 3-yard line or the 1-yard line. There's a minute 16 on the clock. So all they have to do.
And Jaguars cannot stop the clock.
They can't stop it. So all the Jets have to do is take a couple knees, run the ball in the middle of the field, run the clock down, kick a field goal, game over. What do the Jets do?
They do the Jet thing and they score.
They do a running play. Of course, Jacksonville knows what's going on. They let them score. And now all of a sudden, Jacksonville has... No, I think Jacksonville actually had timeouts, Omar.
You're right. I think they had 2. I'm sorry. They had all their timeouts.
Because they were like, let's force them to use their timeouts on defense.
Patrick, I was so wrong. That's what made it... That was the crazy part. I just remember thinking to myself, I would have known what to do in Madden. Playing Madden, I would have known what to do.
Right. I formation, halfback dive, but when they hand it off, I'm going to just dive. I'm going to press the dive button and dive in the middle of the field. So I'm like, oh, great. Here's the story. The Jets actually have a good game and they blow it. And some weird way, Mac Jones is going to turn the knife on them. And I think they got one first down, but Jacksonville threw a pick. And this was probably the Jets' best game.
Right. And they're going to get a new coach, new GM, everything.
I was so ready for the Jets to blow this one some way, somehow, but they didn't.
Right.
Those were the early games, which were fun. Do other stuff. But now we go one more early game was Miami-Houston. Sorry. And I oddly wanted to watch it. And the only thing quotable in this game, because at halftime, I think it was like 10-3, they asked Mike McDaniels about his offensive production. And he goes, we're doing some things good. That was his quote. And he looked all flustered, like he was like confused or something. It was a very odd interview. Houston wins 20-12. Oh, fake punt. Somebody did a fake punt in that game too, which was good. Miami, last thought. Remember when the Jets had Rex Ryan and they were good for a few years and then they just fell off the cliff? I think that's Miami now. Where we used to talk about Miami and now we're like, no, they're not good. What's good? What's bad about them? I don't know. They're just bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just not, can't put your finger on it.
No, I just know they're bad. I have eyeballs. That takes us to the late games. which was actually a good slate because it wasn't like a million games like weeks before. Indianapolis at Denver. This was a game Denver needed to stay in the race. Sneaky, serious game. And Indianapolis had, I think, one of the best trick plays to go wrong today.
Yep.
They go into Denver, they lose. Denver wins 31-13. That brings us to the game of the week, which was Buffalo-Detroit. Buffalo 48-42. I don't really think it was that close of a game. But Buffalo was strong in every single aspect in this game. Do you think we saw a preview of the Super Bowl? What would it what would it take to put your money on it? Would you say this is our Super Bowl?
Right now, it could be the Super Bowl.
It could be,
Right now this is my pick to win the Super Bowl, to be the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were going to fight me on this, but yeah, Detroit, Buffalo in the where is the Super Bowl this year?
New Orleans.
Oh, okay. New Orleans, Buffalo, Detroit, almost maybe both equal distance for them too.
Right.
I like it. I also like when we get like a little Super Bowl preview and the teams get to feel each other out. So when they play in the Super Bowl, like the game is almost going to be even better. I liked it. And I don't even have that much to say about this game other than Detroit got down early and Buffalo was fucking strong and Josh Allen is the MVP. Like, I feel like we saw everything these teams had to offer. Like, it was a great heavyweight battle. But Detroit can't get down. I don't feel like they can play from behind. It's the only takeaway I have from this game. I don't think Detroit can play from behind, and they need to know that going into the playoffs.
Right. Yes, I agree.
Pittsburgh, Philly. Another good heavyweight matchup on the other side. And this was a good one where, like, I was flipping channels back and forth to see what was going on. And I think we finally saw the Pittsburgh that we all thought we knew. Pittsburgh was not competitive in this game. Do you think so?
No, not at all. It was not a good game. Russell Wilson struggled mightily.
Yeah, no moonballs.
And he just couldn't get anything going. They couldn't establish the run. And in this, this great season that Pittsburgh has had, they've been able to run the football effectively and stop their defense also didn't show up today. So not a good game for Pittsburgh, but again, they're still in the thick of things.
Right. Not enough of a bad game where I'm like counting Pittsburgh out. Like, you got to give someone a bad game every now and again. Go on the road, good team. Everybody's talking you up. Like, I'm okay with Pittsburgh finally coming down to earth. Philly, like, do you trust Philly? Why do I not trust them? Is it just last year's Tampa Bay loss is stinging in my mouth? What about you? Do you trust them?
No, I don't.
No, I don't either. Do you know why? Because I don't know why.
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it either. I don't trust the coach. How about that?
This is the team I think the Rams are going to beat. This is the one where I'm like, if you have to play the Rams, I'm going to say the Rams. Like, I'm going to be like, what's the spread? Because I bet the Rams can cover. I bet the Rams can take it into the fourth quarter. It's just my thoughts on Philly.
It could be.
Yeah. All right, let's go to New England at Arizona. Arizona, this is an important game. Arizona has to stay in the race. And they pulled it off. All business as usual. I didn't see any reason for Arizona to be in trouble in this game.
Right.
And then with Seattle losing, Arizona's in this mix for sure. Another team where I'm like, if they get in the playoffs, I won't be surprised.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And then lastly, Tampa Bay at the LA Chargers. Man, I was hoping for such a better game.
Oh, such a terrible game to watch.
That was the most surprising result of the day for me.
Yep.
We had Harbaugh, we have Herbert coming off great performances, and the Chargers score 17 points. Still waiting for that Herbert breakout game. Like, I don't know if we're going to have it. Are we ever going to see this Herbert that we all think we know? God, this really disappointed me.
Very disappointed, but look, they too are still in contention. So look, they got a bad game. I kind of equate, you know, what happened with Pittsburgh. They just gotta keep going.
Do you like Pittsburgh more than the Chargers?
Yes, I do.
Do you think the Chargers can win a playoff game
They can.
this year?
Yes.
Like, Chargers are going to have to play the Chiefs, right? They're going to have to go into KC. I'm like, that's too much for them. Like, who's a playoff team they could beat? Buffalo, no.
No. They can beat
KC,
the Chiefs.
no.
They can beat the Chiefs.
You think so? The Chargers can beat the Chiefs. I was going to say, like, they could beat, like, Houston. That was my playoff team. Like, I think they could beat a Houston. I don't know if they could like gather all the talent and put it all into one game. I don't see it with the Chargers, or at least I think they're a year away. I just wish we could see the Herbert that we all think he is.
Right.
Tampa Bay on the flip side, good for you. You went across the country and you got to win. Fun team, Tampa Bay. Everybody's favorite fun team. All right. It's time for the categories for week 15. We do them every week. And this week, I got some fun ones. Let's start with most memorable moment. This didn't materialize, but my most memorable moment was when Detroit had to kick that onside kick. And I was like, oh, they're going to get back in this game. We get an onside kick. And it was one of the best onside kick dog piles I think we've seen in a while because the ref's feet were sticking out of it. We were unburying bodies. Both teams are waving their hands. Buffalo got it, but it
was hard to watch.
Yeah. I went with my memorable moment was the Detroit onside kick. Almost got it. What was your most memorable moment?
My most memorable moment was just the Josh Allen staple on the MVP argument right now. He's the top dog right now. Definitely his huge win. Huge win.
Yeah, the regular season ends next week, right?
No, 3 weeks. This is 3 more games.
Really? Isn't it week 15? 15, 16, 7. Isn't there 17 weeks?
There's 18 weeks now.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so maybe there's a chance Lamar can still get in the MVP talk, but I was going to say Josh Allen stamping his MVP. It might have been today. How about next award, the Cringeworthy Award? I got 3 nominees this week. I already said it. Indianapolis's horrible trick play.
Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor
that was cringeworthy.
fumbling that an NFL professional fumbling that ball out of into the end zone.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. Okay, add that to Indianapolis's trick play / dropping the ball. Like somehow who was the first guy that did that? Was it Deshaun Jackson for Philly?
Yeah, he did that.
Once he did that, some way like a virus, other players started doing it. Why is that? College, other pros, and it happened today. Drop the ball before you get in the end zone. Very cringeworthy.
And you wonder, like, these ball carriers, let's just say running backs, wide receivers, there's a little prima donna there,
Right.
You would think that they always want to look so good, the way they show up dressed, that they don't want to be humiliated and all the trash talk. You would think that's the one thing they don't want to be looking like fools on,
Yeah, but how did it get in like the bloodstream of football?
Yeah, I don't know.
We've seen so many examples of it.
That'd be an interesting segment for one of these big networks to do, like the psychology behind what's going through their head.
Yeah,
as they're doing that.
Yeah, and it's just like a trend. When one celebration is invented, then everybody does it. It's like, let me drop the ball right after the goal line. Okay, how close to the goal line can I drop the ball? And thus, this epidemic for the last 10 years plus. Okay, so we got Indianapolis' bonehead plays. I got Jameis Winston getting pulled from the game. Was kind of cringeworthy today.
Oh, I didn't like that.
Because we had like a fun 3 weeks of Winston. We had snow game Winston. We had fun quotes Winston. And now we've come full circle and we're like, oh, they pulled his ass. And he's on the bench now. And then last cringeworthy was all of Seattle's offense tonight. Gets a cringeworthy nominee. It's hard to beat Indianapolis dumbass trick play, so I think they win the award. But God, Winston pulled and Seattle's offense was bad today.
It was.
Throw in Geno Smith going down and in the locker room as also cringeworthy offense. What do you got?
As far as what was cringeworthy?
Yeah, what's your cringeworthy award?
Oh no, like I said, it's Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, you're going with that one, huh? Yep.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Specifically that one.
It's a professional football player, man.
How about next award? Memeable moment for the week. I got this one watching the Pittsburgh-Philly game. Pittsburgh's going to win the game, and the camera's just showing these droves of Philly fans, all smiling, couple shirtless ones, couple of them with a beer in hand. I just feel like you can make a lot of memes out of like just that snapshot of Philly fans. You know, you could be like, guess who's coming to dinner? Have the picture of it. You invite it when your college son invites a friend over for Christmas. You know, you could use that Philly picture of the fan. I feel like you could do a lot with a picture of a bunch of Philly fans actually celebrating. So I'm with that for my memeable moment for the week.
You know, my memeable moment's got to be the look of the two sidelines on Thursday for my team, the 49ers, and then on the opposite side, Sean McVay. Even though Sean McVay got the win, these two offensive NFL geniuses, and they could only muster, 19 points. So that was my memeable moment.
Yeah, whatever happened to the offensive guru? Remember the Man Genius days of Mangini? Remember the, like a team would have a good year and then the offensive coordinator would get plucked for a head coaching job the next year. And even last week, the Detroit young offensive coordinator, all of a sudden his name was everywhere. Whatever happened to that?
I think it's still around, Pat. I mean, that's, there's that, under Mike Shanahan in Washington, that staff had, Zach Taylor, that, LaFleur, that staff had, I don't know if it had Zach Taylor, but it had maybe it did, but it had LaFleur, Daniel, McDaniels, so it's those gurus are still in there. There's still jobs for them.
Yeah, it just seemed like something we talked about a lot more a long time ago. That leads us to the next award, Best Innovation Award. I got this one. This is almost like a predictor innovation, though, because I watched all the commercials. NFL on Netflix, Christmas Day. I am very, very, very cautiously optimistic about this.
Really? Because I'm a little concerned.
Well, it's concern as well. We had that Tyson Jake Paul fight, which was a tremendous flop. Now we got Christmas Day. We got NFL fans. We got NFL games. I hope you're ready, Netflix. I hope you got a backup server. I hope you got your rotors set up. I hope you're not trying to run other programs. Close all your tabs. I hope you're ready for the NFL, Netflix.
They will call for the Netflix CEOs. Oh, I don't want to make any CEO jokes. But it wouldn't be
right. Someone's going to try and assassinate the Netflix CEO because of this.
I don't
Jesus,
want to wish that on anybody.
We're a society of just bloodthirsty gluttons.
Right. But when you think about it, these people are so crazy nowadays. It wouldn't shock you either.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he goes on the run. Brutal week for that story as well. Just ugly side.
Would Netflix do a documentary detailing the murder of a Netflix CEO?
Oh.
Because of a Netflix error in screwing up the pro football Christmas Day.
Well, we've definitely gone over the cliff with amounts of documentaries these days. Like, there are so many documentaries out there. They make some documentaries where they don't even solve the case at the end of it.
Right.
I watched one where it was like, what do you think? I was like, I think you didn't finish this documentary. What is this? It's insane, the amount. We just exploded with documentaries, and some of them are terrible. And, I'm thinking back in the day when they're all like educational and good. Some are terrible. Some are cartoons. They make cartoons out of them, or it's like there's like they have actors acting it out. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot. I forgot that I'm thinking all these are going to be good. Some of them are like, remember Unsolved Mysteries from when we were kids?
Oh yeah.
And it had like a soundtrack and it had actors and stuff like that. And it was almost like film noir with smoky alleyways.
It didn't matter where you were in the house. If somebody had the TV on and you heard that their tune, you knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And they really started a genre because they're like, hey, we don't have an answer to any of these stories. What do we do? Let's just call it Unsolved Mysteries. They'll know we don't have an answer to these things. And that'll be the show. Be like, dude, that's genius. We don't really have to do any investigating that way. Perfect. Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah. NFL on Netflix, you're on the clock. What's your innovation award for the week?
I love the holes in roofs at stadiums. I just love that look today, the Seattle hole, I just like that stadiums just have that visual quality to them at night nowadays.
Yeah, that's nice. Back in the day, it was like dome or no dome. That was it. You know what I secretly thought you were going to nominate for your best innovation was drones. You know, we had a couple of drone shots in Seattle. Then we got these New Jersey drones going on.
I do like it. But the innovation I'm interested in seeing is, I guess, is it Christmas or whatever game is going to be on NBC, and maybe next week there's going to be a Madden simulcast.
Oh, I saw that, but I didn't exactly know what that is. What's happening?
I don't know either, but I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah, like that's going to be on NBC as well?
Right.
Huh. You know, I love my alternative programming because I watched the Raiders Chiefs game, the Amazon Prime Black Friday game a couple weeks ago. You could click an option to watch like this view of the game called Next Gen Stats View, where you see all 22 players and stats are on the side of the screen the whole time. It wasn't all the way there, but it was a pretty cool option. Like it wasn't quite right, but it was pretty cool. It was almost like you were playing Madden and watching a game because it was that angle from behind the offensive line.
Right.
Throw that in the innovation along with drones.
Nice.
All right, no soundtrack award. I couldn't think of one.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this though. When was the last time you played Madden?
I played in college. I think that was about the end of my Madden career. And then post-college, I had a roommate who was way into Madden and was the source of many, many apartment fights. Like he would invite his friends over, they'd play for $20 a game, and then there would be arguments. There would be a lot of like near fights. And I would be upset because like, dude, I'm not into this anymore. Settle this outside of the apartment. Get out of here. So I would say my Madden career ended a couple years after college, and I wasn't even playing then.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, how far did you go into Madden?
Oh, this year I played with Camilo.
Oh, like you've always played, or are you getting back into it?
I think I'm getting back in. I played this year with Camilo, but then I did play in law school and didn't play since.
Yeah, it's not like me to give myself credit. I'm a little bit going to give myself credit that I haven't become an adult who's into video games. I think an adult who's into video games might have some issues. What do you think? Video games are very popular now, so maybe I'm a little out of touch.
I am going to want to get into it again.
Oh, geez. I'm also glad I'm an adult.
Because I don't know if you noticed, Pat, but you have not received any Instagram posts from me in a few days.
That's true.
I deleted my social media apps.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Why? I know you came back from Mexico last week. Does that have anything to do with that?
No, it's just so much crap. It's like that. Everything's an ad. You can't enjoy anything anymore without somebody trying to sell you something.
Yeah, the ads have infiltrated the Instagram feed big time. Takes a little fun out of it because it takes you a bit and you're like, do I follow? Oh, this is an ad. I don't remember following. Oh, that's another ad. Gotcha. So it got to you. So you had to delete your account.
Yes.
You know, the other thing I'm glad as an adult I never got into, professional wrestling. I don't feel that's a good look for an adult man. I really
I
don't.
agree with you. I agree with you.
Don't
I
get
don't, I
into
don't,
that, adults.
I don't mind it, but I mean, I didn't follow it. You know, I think a problem with me and wrestling was I just remember being a kid that there were just so many gimmicks, but now everybody now comes out in their regular name. You know, like the wrestler is
Yeah.
Patrick Ramirez, the wrestler is Omar Carmona.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Whatever
know,
happened to Jake the Snake?
like the
Whatever happened
Snake,
to The Undertaker?
the Tonka, you know, the $1 million man, you know,
Right, right.
the Macho Man. You know, those are gimmicks that were
So
just
they just have just regular names? Like The Rock had a name,
right.
but I guess that was it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wrestling should be for children and that's it. Like you all had your phase, but 10 years old should move on. I blame the parents. Next award, the Hot Take Award. Here's my hot take. Here's how it's going to work for the NFC Conference Championship. If Philly is home for their conference championship, they're winning. If Detroit is home for their conference championship, they're winning. I think it's going to come down to that. Those teams got to be home if they're going to try and win a conference championship. That's my hot take.
Okay.
Got to be home. What do you got for your hot take?
My hot take is that we did see a Super Bowl preview and that this was a Super Bowl preview. So we did get one of those rare Super Bowl matchups. I believe last one we had was Tampa Bay and Kansas City played in a regular season game before Tampa Bay.
The Brady
won.
year. Yeah, yeah.
And I do think this is the Super Bowl.
Also, if you were to tell me now, like, dude, I've seen the future. It's going to be Buffalo and Detroit. My brain is already racing like, okay, great. How did Buffalo get over KC? How did Detroit beat Philly? What happened to Baltimore? Like, if you told me that was the end result, I would love to see how it happens. So I'm in. I'm in for a Buffalo-Detroit Super Bowl, no doubt.
Right.
Next award, the Sunday double feature. And I got a good one because I started this movie Saturday night and I forgot how ridiculous it is. Tango and Cash is on Pluto TV. And this might be the best bad movie I think ever made. It's insane. These guys are like, these cops get busted going to prison. Somehow they're still cracking jokes. They're framed going to prison. They're cracking jokes on the way to the prison. I'm like, what world is this? I mean, I can only blame cocaine in the mid 80s for all this. But I was like, this is a great bad movie. I'm all in. I love it. Tango and Cash. I'm going to finish it.
Good.
I like it. What do you got? Do you have a Sunday double feature?
I'm going to be watching tonight. I'm going to continue watching, not a movie. I'm going to be watching Shogun on FX.
Oh, is that right? You got into that show, huh?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Wow.
But you can't be messing around. Like, you got to be watching it because it's a lot of it is in subtitles.
Wow. Jeez. Okay, that would turn me off. I can't. I don't like reading. I get mad back to Netflix. I get mad when I click like a title that I think looks really good and I find out it's a movie from another country and all the subtitles are in English so you can understand what's going on like it's in another language. I was like, dude, you got to tell me this before.
That's a pain in the ass.
Come on. Trick me, Netflix. Next award, the Announcer Award. Oh, I already said it. Greg Olson and his team for trying their best to make Dallas, Carolina interesting. Gotta give you some for that.
I still get a kick out of listening to Tony Romo when he makes these little grunts and sounds. And,
Yeah.
and I think it's just like, it's like the coolest sound effect to a Tony Romo game.
Romo is a grunter.
Right.
He's generally making these little squirmy noises.
It's like grunts and squeals and shrieks.
Yeah. Well, you know, I watched a lot of football with my dad this week because he was in town. And we watched a lot of TV as well. My dad's a big grunter too. Like it's almost borderline annoying because say like we watch Gladiator and like someone gets stabbed and he goes, ooh. And then 2 seconds later, someone rides off on a horse and he's like, hey. Like he's doing these little one-word reactions. I'm like, Dad, you know I can hear you, right? And he's like, oh,
Right. And then
hey.
and then if you're not hearing the grunts, it's because he's sleeping.
Yeah, he falls asleep. But surprisingly, he had never seen Gladiator and he did not fall asleep.
Oh, did he like it?
He loved it. He loved Gladiator.
Yeah, I could see that being a movie your dad would like.
And he'd never seen it. So my dad and Tony Romo are big grunters. Next award, I got Best Quote for week 15. This one comes from, I already said Mike McDaniels. We're doing some things good. But I got a quote from our man, Jason Garrett, the preview of Sunday Night Football. This was his quote. You got to watch football from the side. When they knock over the other team this way, they got a shot. I was like, what? What are we talking about, Jason Garrett? You got to watch football from the side, and when they knock a team over one way, they got a shot. Yeah. Did not understand it. That being said, that was a great Jason Garrett quote. Unbelievable. I don't know what other direction I watch football from, Jason Garrett.
I think on mine the Fox morning show had made fun of Michael Strahan because I think he'd been working on tagging a line that he said that when talking about the Chiefs, he said they are lucky when they're good, but maybe the Chiefs are just good at being lucky, you know?
Oh, I heard that line. That was a good one.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a good line. Maybe they're good at being lucky. God, he may be right too.
Yeah.
Next award, Best Play Call / Coaches Award. I gave it to the New York Jets for almost giving Jacksonville a chance to beat them. That was about the best Jets thing they've done all year. It should have bit them in the ass, but it didn't. So I give it to you. I give it to you, Jets. Do you have a Best Play Call / Coaches Award for the week?
My best play call was Josh Allen firing a laser. It wasn't the coach's call, but I just love it when a quarterback he's running down the field and he tells the receiver when the defense can see him, and he just says,
he's doing one of these.
Way. Yeah, and he completed a rope just down the sidelines.
God, I wonder how far that guy can throw a ball.
Like he's a big dude. That's a big arm.
Like, just go get on the goal line, run up to it, and throw it as far as you can throw it. Like, he might be a 75-yarder type of guy, type of arm. Last award. Who won the week? I gave it to our man, Josh Allen. I thought he was the biggest winner this week.
I went out to second that, Pat. He was that good.
Yeah. Kind of a boring award because he's the clear winner for the week. Josh Allen, MVP. I think we saw it today.
I think we did too.
That was week 15 in the NFL. That was the slate of games. And that brings us to Monday night. Omar, there's 2 Monday night games this week.
2.
Why?
I don't know. It happened again.
And they start within 30 minutes of each other. We have Chicago at Minnesota, and we have Atlanta at Las Vegas. So, all right, first of all, what's your interest level? You going to watch these games?
I am going to watch the games. I am going to watch the games.
I guess the Minnesota one you got to watch, right? Minnesota's good.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that one. You know, it's a good division game. I'll watch that. And let's see the Falcons and Raiders playing for pride.
Yeah, really. Like, that's going to be an announcer award game because they're going to have to try really hard to keep this game interesting. Cousins, they're going to have to talk about Penix. We're going to have to talk about the quarterback's QB troubles and Antonio Pierce. It's going to be some heavy lifting for those announcers, for sure. All right, predict the game. Start with Chicago at Minnesota.
Minnesota 27, Chicago 16. And then I want to go the Atlanta Falcons 29, the Raiders 21.
Oh, God. That's rough. All right, well, I'm going to go Minnesota big. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns. Let's go 27-13. And then I will never root for the tank. So I'm going to go Las Vegas Raiders 24 and the hapless Kirk Cousins 3. I'm going to go big. Sorry, I got to go big. That's my pick. Yep, those are my picks for Monday night. Those are your picks for Monday night as well. I guess that wraps up everything in week 15, right?
It does.
Christmas is already coming up. I feel like Thanksgiving just ended. And I feel like we have a map for our next month of football watching, believe it or not.
Right.
College football playoffs as well. Like, our football viewing is packed. We might have to do an emergency talk somewhere in there combining college and these. Isn't there a Friday? Oh, because of Christmas. We got Friday games coming around.
We are.
Action,
it's going to be good.
Action-packed. Action-packed. All right, folks, that was week 15 in the NFL. That was Omar. He's back from Mexico. Didn't sound that down on your 49ers. I'm impressed.
You know what? It's over, so there's nothing else to talk about, Pat.
All right, it's over. Although football is not over because we're here for it. We're heroes. Omar, I will see you next week. You deleted your social media, so don't try and contact him, anybody.
Please, no more. No, I say this with peace and love.
Peace and love. All right, you've said too much. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. For me, Patrick Mears, for Omar Carmona, for the Sunday Night Talk. Have a good night, everyone.